Hello, and today we'll be discussing the bones of the forearm, or what you call as the antebrachium. And usually, the bones that form the forearm or the antebrachium are two in number. One is this, the larger and the shorter, that is the radius, and one is this, that is the longer bone, that is the ulna. So first we'll see this larger and the shorter bone, that is the radius bone. This bone basically presents two surfaces. One of the surface is this is the cranial surface, and one of the surface will be this surface. So where the ulna is attached, basically the ulna is attached at the caudolateral aspect. It is not fully attached on the caudal surface of the radius. It starts as a caudal, then it goes the laterally, and accordingly you will identify to which side these two bones belong. So you can see here the ulna has come on the lateral aspect. So you can put these two bones in the animals and identify to which side these two bones will belong. Put this side as a lateral, and accordingly the side can be decided. So two surfaces, then two borders of the radius. One of the border will be this. So this is one of the border, so that is a lateral border, and one of the border will be this side, so this is the medial border. So two surfaces, two borders, then it has two ends, or what we call as extremity. One of the extremity will be this called as a proximal extremity, and one will be on the downside, this called as a distal extremity. The cranial surface usually is very smooth, and it is somewhat convex in outline, and in the lifetime this cranial surface is usually covered by the extensor muscles. So you can find the extensors on the cranial surface of the radius, and usually the caudal surface, I told you, it is concave surface. Caudal is a concave surface, and the borders, two borders, the lateral border and the medial border. Then if you see the lateral border here, also in the lateral border also there will be the attachment to the extensors. There is extensor, what you call as a lateral digital extensor, and extensor carpi obliquus. So you can find on the lateral border of the radius these two extensors. Then the attachment of the ulna with that of radius, I told you, is the caudolateral, and except at the two places they are separated here. You can see here there is no connection between the radius and ulna. So this space, and here one more space will be here. So this space is called as an interosseous space, and it is towards the proximal side. It's called as a proximal interosseous space, and here it will be the distal interosseous space. And these two interosseous space are usually connected by this groove. You can see this is a groove, and this groove is called as a radio-ulnar groove. So between the radius and ulna, connecting two interosseous spaces, one is here and one will be here. So these are called as interosseous spaces, and the groove connecting them is called as a radio-ulnar groove. Then if you look out the extremities, so this is the proximal extremity. So this is the proximal extremity of the radius. So the proximal extremity basically has the articular areas for the condyles of humerus, and this articular area, whole of the articular area, is divided by this sagittal groove, and this sagittal groove basically gives the unequal division to this articular area. One of the articular area is bigger, so this will be for the medial condyle, because the medial condyle in case of humerus is bigger. So here the medial condyle will articulate, here the lateral condyle will articulate, and this is the sagittal groove that is dividing this articular whole of the articular area. Now if you look out at the outline of this articular area and at the cranial aspect towards the proximal side, you will see a small elevated area here. This is called as a coronoid process, and this coronoid process usually fits into the coronoid fossa of the humerus as when there is an extreme flexion of the joint. So this process usually fits into that coronoid fossa. And if you look out the radial aspect of this lesser articular area, you will find a tuberosity here. This is called as a lateral tuberosity, and this lateral tuberosity is usually for the attachment of the lateral ligament of elbow joint. So here one of the ligament, what you call the lateral ligament of elbow joint, will be attaching. Then if you look out the craniomedial aspect, so craniomedial aspect is this area. So in the craniomedial aspect you will find a small tuberosity here also. This is called as the radial tuberosity, and to this radial tuberosity, usually here at the radial tuberosity, usually the biceps brachii muscle will attach. Then at the medial aspect, so this is the medial aspect. So medial aspect, there is one more tuberosity, what we call as the medial tuberosity, and to this medial tuberosity usually the medial ligament of the elbow joint will attach. So this is medial tuberosity, here it is radial tuberosity here, and this is the lateral tuberosities. So this is about the proximal end of the radius. So if you look out the distal end, this is the distal end, and the distal end you will see these are the articular facets. So articular facets are oblique. See, there is articular facet oblique, oblique, and oblique articular facets, and these articular facets are for the proximal row of the carpal bones. You know, there are four carpal bones in the proximal row. One will be towards, because it's ulna, so here it will be the ulnar carpal, it will be here intermediate carpal, and here it will be the radial carpal. So these articular facets are very oblique, and you can see these are the oblique articular facets for the carpal bones. And just above these facets at the cranial surface, you find these shallow grooves. One of the grooves here, one of the grooves here, and one of the grooves on the little bit on the medial aspect. So these shallow grooves on the cranial surface towards the distal end are usually for the grooves for the extensor tendons. So the tendon, the extensors that are coming cranially here. So these extensors are the muscles. Basically, they will be ending here in the form of the tendons, and these shallow grooves are basically for the tendons, for the extensors that are present on the cranial aspect of these radius. So one will be the lateral, one will be the middle groove, and one will be the medial groove. So accordingly, this lateral groove is usually for common distal extensor. So if you want to find the common distal extensor, find the lateral area at the distal end, find this shallow groove, and you can find the common distal extensor tendon. And if you want to find the extensor carpi radialis, look out for this middle look out for this middle shallow groove, and you can find the extensor carpi radialis tendon here. And if you want to see the extensor carpi obliquus, so extensor carpi obliquus will be on the medial shallow groove here. So these three, one is extensor carpi radialis, common distal extensor, and the extensor obliquus will be present on the distal extremity at the cranial side. So this is about the radius. So let us see about the other bone that is attached. It is caudolateral, not fully caudal, caudolateral, and this bone is the ulna bone, and this is a modified, basically this bone is a modified bone. If you compare these two bones, this bone is radius, it is very large as compared to that of the ulna. The body of the ulna is basically modified, and this bone comes in the classification of the modified long bone. So you see here, and this ulna basically presents three surfaces. One of the surface will be here, so this is towards the lateral aspect, so this will be the lateral surface. One of the surface is attached to the caudal surface of radius, so that becomes the cranial surface of ulna, and one will be here, that will be the medial surface. So medial surface, then lateral surface, and the attached surface that is towards the radius, that is called as the cranial surface. It presents two extremities. One of the extremity is this, so this is the proximal extremity, and one of the extremity is this is the distal extremity. So the surfaces, again here if you see here, the attachment of the ulna, two places it is not attached, so these are interosseous spaces. So these are the interosseous spaces. And this bone has also three borders. One of the border will be this, so this border will be the caudal border. Then one of the border will be interior here, you can see here a very sharp border here, so this will be the medial border, and one of the border will be here, that will be the lateral border. So three borders are there, one is medial side, one is lateral side, and one is towards the back side, what you call as the caudal border. Then if you look out the extremity of ulna, so this is the extremity of the ulna, the outline of the extremity of the ulna at the proximal end, if you see here, it is somewhat quadrilateral in shape. So from here it is ulna, proximal extremity is quadrilateral in shape, and this quadrilateral shape of process is called as the olecranon process. So this whole is olecranon process, and besides olecranon process, at the proximal end you will see this notch, this is called as a semilunar notch. So this is called as a semilunar notch, and basically this semilunar notch will fit into the, there is a one oblique depression from the medial condyle going towards the olecranon fossa. So this will fit at the time of formation of the elbow joint there. So if you look out the boundaries of this or borders of this olecranon process, one of the boundary will be, or border will be this will be the cranial, and this cranial border ends into a beak-like process here. So this is called as Anconis process, and this Anconis process at the extreme extension of elbow joint, this will fit into the olecranon fossa. So this Anconis process, this is semilunar notch, this whole quadrilateral shape is olecranon process. And if you see here, the attachment of ulna with respect to that of radius here. So if you remove the ulna, there will be the two facets. One facet will be here and one facet will be here, because the ulna here is attached towards the proximal extremity of the radius. So two facets also you can see here, just below the semilunar notch you can find two facets for the articulation with that of the radius. Then if you look out distal extremity, so this is the distal extremity of ulna. So this is distal extremity of ulna. Usually the distal extremity of ulna just goes beyond the radius in the form of a process. Here you can see here, so this is the ulna going just beyond the distal extremity of the radius, and this process is called as lateral styloid process of ulna. So lateral styloid process of ulna is this, and it is the part of the ulna. And if you look out the facet where the ulnar carpal is attached, so here the ulnar carpal will be attached, and the ulnar carpal facet is usually formed, the part is formed by the radius and part is formed by the lateral styloid process of the ulna. So this is about the radius and ulna of ox, the comparative we can see in the coming videos. Thank you.